Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I am your host, the Football Grump, and with me as always is Mike the Cranky Fan.
Oh, good morning, Grump. I am still half asleep from being at last night's overtime win for the Lightning, Game 6. So we got a Game 7 on Saturday. A lot going on in here. But we're here to talk not about the Lightning, but about another Christmas day on our schedule, the release of the 2022 schedule.
Ah, yes. Released with much fanfare and leaked like a full 24 hours before it came out. I never understood why the schedule has to be a big reveal, but it's because money rules everything, right?
We all care. I mean, geez, it's all It's a big thing. It's a day where you jump onto Marriott and you book your hotels and where are you going to play, and everybody does like where you're going to do, kind of evaluating really quickly, and it's a big deal. And they might as well just draw it out as much as they can.
Yeah, it makes sense. Overall, the Giants' schedule seems mostly fair, right? I mean, did anything jump right out as being like, oh, that stinks? There's some things that, we'll go through these game by game really quickly, but there's some things that are odd, some things that are strange, but I didn't see anything in there. Like, we've had years where we've had, like, 4 night games or, just unfair opponents back to back or something like that. I don't really think there's anything like that. But there is some oddities in here.
A couple of things that stand out to me off the bat. Number one, we only have 2 primetime games, and I think the league is trying to finally figure out, just because the Giants have a big fan base, the rest of the country doesn't want to watch a bad team.
Yeah.
And so no more Sunday night games, no more, Thursday night games. It's just until this team gets better. Just the thought, well, we have Saquon Barkley. We're not an attractive team right now, and that's understandable. The other thing that kind of jumped out for me is, some of these road trips and locations back to back seem pretty brutal. I mean,
that's true.
Jumping from Jacksonville to Seattle in back-to-back weeks is that's a bit of a hike. Electing not to take the bye week after London is interesting. I can understand it. I mean, that game is so early in the season. If you burning your bye that early, could present a problem later on in the season. So, but from a competitive standpoint, I don't see anything of like a real murderer's row or anything that would be like, this is a tough gauntlet we're going to go 0-4 on right off the bat, just because of scheduling, not necessarily because how good or bad the team is.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we might go 0-4 in any stretch. That has nothing to do with it, yeah.
Exactly. And the third thing is I kind of like having, those division games towards the end of the year. With a new coaching staff and everything, it's going to take some time for this team to kind of figure itself out. And I like that little stretch where we play at Dallas, Washington, Philly, at Washington, a couple of non-division and Philly to end the season. If this team is going to be firing at all cylinders, it should be then. I can't worry about injuries because everybody has to deal with the same potential for it. So I like how it's back heavy on the division.
That's interesting. I actually hate that. All right, let's get into this here. So the first game, week 1, is September 11th, Sunday, at Tennessee, 4:25 kickoff. I like a season opener away. It feels like I get 2 openers, a season opener and a home opener. And it feels even better when you have that first game away and then the home opener is filled with excitement because you won the first week. We don't get a lot of that. So there's always that potential, and I actually like that. I like the setup of having your first game away and then second week at home. So,
and I like it also because it's a non-division, non-conference game too, so it's not all of a sudden you're behind the 8 ball already. It's like if we lose to Dallas, we're already 0-1 in the division. Where it's kind of you lose, but you still have a clean slate in the division.
Especially because there are only 3 preseason games now. It kind of sucks having like your first game being a division game, where you're just not really quite set on your roster and shit. Like, remember, there's all those cutdowns, and then people come in and they never have a game with the team. They come right in. So I agree.
And especially with the league trend of treating, the first couple of weeks like it's extended preseason. We don't know how this regime is going to do what we saw last year at Joe Judge, that they really coasted into the season, getting ready. And, if that's going to be the case Going forward, following the way the league is or something, you'd rather have a game that's not as meaningful as playing Philly or Washington.
Right. Week 2, September 18th, is a 1 o'clock kickoff at home against the Carolina Panthers. I love this for a home opener. It's one of the few games that at the early stage I'm not shrugging and expecting a blowout. That could happen, but we're not playing the Rams or anything like that. So I kind of like that too, as our home opener isn't some like fucking devastatingly badass opponent.
Sure. I mean, the potential of playing, Darno or Geno Smith in the opener sounds pretty tempting to me. So that's pretty good. It's the only thing for me is it's the first of 4 games this year. I have to get on a 6 a.m. flight from Gainesville to get down to the Meadowlands. So my tailgating time will be limited for that one, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. Week 3 is where the shenanigans starts to begin. Monday night game versus Dallas. I'm going to hit you with a conspiracy theory here.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL knows that the NFC sucks. There's a few favorites, and the majority of the firepower is currently in the AFC. Dallas is not only one of the favorites for the conference, but they're Dallas. The NFL might be drumming up Dallas more than usual. I have no idea. I'm just kind of like spitballing here. I hate this game. I hate Monday night games. I hate hosting Dallas this early in the year. It's still better than starting every season against them, but something about the schedule release just feels like the NFL is kind of hyping up Dallas for some reason.
If the NFL could, they'd have Dallas on every primetime game of the year.
That's true.
I mean, it's whether they're good or bad. I mean, I just said before, well, they're finally getting it. The Giants aren't good, and the people don't want to watch it. Well, the star power between the Giants and the Cowboys is like, night and day. So yeah. I just think it's a question of, that they're going to try to get as many division games on primetime as they can, as long as they're palatable to the rest of the country.
But it's an easy division game, too.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. I mean, they want to have, again, like I said before, you're not going to see us on that much because, maybe the Saquon Barkley star power thing isn't what it was, but it's still Giants Cowboys, and they're going to have it. The only thing I don't like about it is on those Monday night games is the season ticket holders sell their tickets. You're going to have a bunch of meatheads from North Jersey that are Cowboy, Laker, Yankee type
Blue
fans.
Devil.
Exactly. That crew is going to be there, and it makes it annoying for us.
It does. I don't know. I'll get back to the conspiracy theory as we go through this list, but an easy primetime game for Dallas. Put that in a little checkbox. Week 4, October 2nd, 1 o'clock kickoff at home against Chicago. Early October against Chicago, I kind of wish this was a road game. Yeah. I would love to go to Chicago in early October.
Yeah, I mean it's the second of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 10 1 o'clock games this year. I know you're a big fan of the 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, I the 1 o'clock games feel like traditional football to me. I'm not a big fan of the primetime games because I think they're stupid. I don't like watching primetime games at stadiums, and I don't like watching them on TV either. There's not one good primetime TV cast crew, it sucks. It sucks leaving the stadium. It sucks, whatever. I hate those games. So I like 1 o'clock games. It feels like I'd like to wake up on Sunday morning early, go there, have a really nice tailgate, watch the game in the sunshine, no matter the time of the year, and then head home. That's football to me, but whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those barometers of just how good and how relevant you are, unfortunately. And a lot of 1 o'clock games mean we're not very relevant.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Week 5, October 9th, is a 9:30 kickoff on Sunday against Green Bay in London. This is Exhibit B in the NFL throwing the Giants to a huge audience during a rebuild. I don't understand why they would want this. I understand that the Packers and the Giants are historic franchises. They're symbolic franchises. They're some of the few teams that you immediately think of when you think of the NFL. And I do love the London game. I just wish they had waited until this team was more competitive. I mean, seriously, the poor Brits are subjected to some of the worst games, based mostly on like the Jaguars being one of the teams that go there. But why put 2 premier franchises in there in such a lopsided contest? It just, I don't know. Do you feel that way?
They don't care about the actual product on the field over there. I've been to both of the Giant games over there, and that's about just promoting the league. It's you get team fans from every team there. You see jerseys of all 32 teams. They're just happy to watch football. And the high profileness in the States, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the ratings are for these early morning games. They're a fun curiosity. It's kind of like watching soccer that's on early in the morning, but I don't think it's something where, you know, I don't know if the Giants' exposure is that much more here, to turn off an audience. And it's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's besides being one of the three best players in the league, he's one of the three biggest stories in the league always, and it's always going to generate interest in everything. And Giants also could have said no to this. They're not forced to go to London.
Are they not forced?
No, they could very easily say they don't want it to be that. I mean, I'm sure there's negotiation with, because it's a logistical challenge to these teams, and it's not easy to do.
I mean, I don't know how much say they have in that, though. Although I will say, do not underestimate John Mara's power within the NFL. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Week 6, October 16th, is a 1 o'clock kickoff at home against Baltimore. The Giants understandably declined the option of having the bye week following the London game because it's so early in the schedule. It kind of sucks, but at least they get to play at home, coming home from London, which is the East Coast as well, so it's not like they're traveling from Seattle or something like that.
And really, the flight really isn't that much different than going from Seattle to New York. It's like 6 hours coming back. And, for time change, people you're concerned, they're going to be there like for 4 days. And if you're there for 3 weeks, the time change can be a problem. But if you're just going just for a few days, the time change really shouldn't be that much of an impact. If you take off on Monday, you take off on Tuesday, you start practicing on Wednesday again, everybody should be fine.
Yeah. Week 7, October 23rd, is a 1 o'clock kickoff on Sunday at Jacksonville. Come on, at Jacksonville in October? I wish this was a late November game so I could get a Florida vacation out of it while it was still not hot.
It super sucks because it's a bye week for Florida. I mean, it would have been really nice to tie that in with, the week before, when we're playing LSU, or the week after where we're going to be in Jacksonville to play Georgia. But, the scheduling gods, they know how to screw me every year, and this is a classic case.
Yeah. I know October in Florida is, I've gotten sunburns. I've gotten sunburns at UF games in October. Yeah, although October 23rd is a little late. I don't know.
When you're getting to late October, I've been to 100 Florida Georgia games right around this weekend, and it can be pretty pleasant. I mean, there's been a couple that have been hot. There's been a couple that have been really cold too. So North Florida is different than Tampa or Miami. So it could be pleasant.
All right, then I won't scratch it off. Week 8 is October 30th, a 4:25 kickoff at Seattle. At Jacksonville and then at Seattle is tough. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know logistically how they're going to do that. If they're going to go from Jacksonville right to Seattle or come home for a couple of days. But, yeah, we're talking, probably the second or third longest, flight distance, in the NFL between Jacksonville and Seattle. So the only good thing about that is we don't know who Seattle's quarterback is going to be. They could be in bigger transition than we are. So it's not like we're facing Russell Wilson in the Legion of Boom or anything like that.
Yeah, we think.
Mm-hmm.
Week 9 is our bye. Nearly ideal bye week placement from a theoretical standpoint. Circumstantially, it really dictates what is ideal. But yeah, I mean, I can't complain about a week 9 bye.
Mm-hmm.
Week 10, November 13th, is a 1 o'clock kickoff against Houston at home. Winnable November games, huh?
Yeah, it's a nice little reverse gauntlet, of Jacksonville, Seattle, Houston, Detroit. I mean, if this team is, progressing at any stretch at all, Daniel Jones is playing well and everything, I mean, this really should be almost like a 3-1 stretch.
I agree with that. I think if they want to be competitive at all, they have to come away with some wins early, obviously. But this stretch here of 4 games that you just highlighted, Jacksonville, Seattle, Houston, Detroit, if they can take advantage of those 4 games, win those 4 games, they can remain competitive at this point if they came away with a couple wins early on.
Sure.
So I mean, but we're not really talking wins and losses here, but I do think it's interesting that there's some winnable November games here. Week 11, November 20th, is a 1:00 kickoff at home against Detroit.
Sure.
I find it a little interesting. Here's where it sucks. 4 days later, Thursday, Thanksgiving at Dallas for the 4:30 or whatever, 4:00 kickoff.
Yeah, the second.
So listen, as I said earlier, is it possible we're drumming up the Cowboys here? Again, this is a national, theoretically primetime matchup. One team that is poised to take a shot at the Super Bowl, and one team that just fired its GM and its head coach. The boys on Thanksgiving in the last 8 years, which is an arbitrary number that I felt was recent. Okay, you ready? Mm-hmm. Do you know what it is? What the record is on Thanksgiving?
Not very good.
It's 2-6.
Yeah.
Quick, give me a team that just fired the GM and coach and a QB on the final year of his deal. Aside from you know what I mean? Doesn't it feel like they're just setting them up to win on the national stage?
I don't know.
You don't think so? I mean, they play teams like the Chargers. They got the shit
anyway.
kicked out of them by Washington one year.
Yeah.
I know they have to play them anyway. It's just both of our Dallas games are primetime games. I mean, what team in the division is less set up to win against a division favorite? Nobody. We've just fired the head coach and GM. I don't know. It just, again, I understand the Giants-Cowboys thing, but they're double dipping on that. And it's going to be
conspiracy theory. Cranky Fan would say if you're really trying to pump up Dallas and give them the easiest route, you have them play the week after we're in London.
No, it's true.
Or the week after we play at Seattle or something. I just think it's just the way they like the matchup. They everybody will be around the TV after, and I think that maximizes viewers. I think when was the last time we played on a Thanksgiving? It's been.
I don't know if it was the last time, but I do remember we played Josh McDaniels Broncos one year.
Oh yeah, the night game.
Yeah, it was terrible too. They were awful.
Well, we're just awful in prime time anyway, so.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I highly dislike my team playing on Thanksgiving games. Thanksgiving Day is just too distracting to adequately focus, especially at 4:30. That's like, if you aren't in the middle of eating dinner, then you've finished eating dinner and you're like in that slumber mode. I sure as shit don't want to go to a Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, well, I know the mayors had said we would never host one, so.
Yeah, I know they say that, but like, at what point? I don't know. Whatever, it's fine. Let Dallas fans jerk each other off over this November, so they have something for when they ultimately choke in the playoffs. That's the way I see it. Week 13. This is part of the weirdness for me. This is December 4th, a 1:00 kickoff versus Washington at home. This is part of this odd stretch of like a million division games in a row. The only division game we play before the bye is the Monday night game against Dallas. Everything else is in this back load of the season, which I think is kind of strange, and I don't know. It's could be weird. I mean, we could be fighting for the division, or we could have two teams fighting for draft position at this point, where every single week there's going to be movement in the standings in the division. It's kind of strange. But also, only 3 home games in December and beyond. I guess we don't want shots of empty seats anymore.
That's true, but you could have tons of empty seats in Washington. Really, I mean.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Most of our away games are not Washington. I mean, they'll be against teams that I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice, having the extra couple of days to get ready for Washington after Dallas is good. I mean, really, the season starts after things. If we're going to try to sneak into the playoffs somehow, if the season's going that way, the season really starts with that Dallas game, and going to Dallas, they're Jekyll and Hyde-ish, but Washington is a team that if we think we're a playoff team, you have to beat that team. So having a couple extra days to prepare for that, I think, is really helpful.
I agree with you. Where are we at here? December 11th, week 14 is a 1 o'clock kickoff at home versus Philly. I don't mind this game here and now. I do think it's weird that... When was the last time we played Philly early in the season? I'm too lazy to look it up, but it feels like a distant memory.
Well, it feels like we always play them the last game of the year. Like we never.
If not the last game, it's like the week before or something like that.
No, I mean, it seems like we never played Dallas because we always play division game the last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Never played Dallas in that game. So it seems like we're always playing Philly, like either that last one or they back end us with them. So again, I'm sticking with my theory that if this team is going to make a playoff run, they're going to be the most prepared at the end of the season. And injuries are something everyone has to deal with. So I'd rather play these games late than early when we're more, the rookies have played almost a whole year in the system. We'll know if Daniel Jones is the guy or not, if he's still even playing. Who knows? Especially with a new coaching staff and a new everything. I'd rather push to the end the important games.
I kind of want to develop an opinion on this because I'm not really sure how I feel. Like I think that because of the shortened preseason and the way that the roster cuts work now, that having division games super early is not really right because it screws up the division when I don't know. I don't like those early games because they're not really great.
And maybe the league knows this. Maybe this is something
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. I kind of want to see how this plays out because my immediate thought then is to kind of cluster some division games around the middle of the season and then cluster them again at the end for excitement, and battling for playoff position within the division and stuff like that. I think that's a really good idea, but instead they opted to just dump everything at the end, which I wouldn't have thought of. But I'm interested to see how this.
Well, to your point also about empty seats or not, I think if you're a bad team and it's December 23rd and let's say Houston's coming in, it's much more likely those seats are going to be empty than if we're playing Philly or Washington, a team that. Even if the records aren't good, but it's still a rival. It's still a team you want to see and team you hate and everything. So I think it brings in the Philly fans come up too. The league. It's not as easy to tell on TV in those December games when you're wearing jackets and stuff. Oh, those are all Philly fans. It just looks like there's people in those seats.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
So if you want to go conspiracy theory, I think that's my bigger conspiracy theory.
No, I mean that was just me being funny. I don't think that's like a real. I mean, I don't know. John Mara might have that kind of power to be like, please give us less home games in the latter half of the year. I don't know. He might.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's the Meadowlands in December is not the most fun place to be. It's
not really that fun to be in the summer either. But
yeah.
Week 15 is either a Saturday or Sunday game against Washington. Playing on Saturday would be kind of sweet. It might make a road trip worth it. I got a lot less going on Saturdays.
One of my favorite things in life is Saturday NFL games. I love them. I love Saturday playoff games. I love, after college being over, they flex out some games on Saturdays. I'd be all for it. I would definitely take the train down for that if it's a meaningful game for us.
Yeah, I'm considering that as well. It sucks that stadium is somehow worse than ours. It's way worse.
Oh, it's awful.
Week 16, Christmas Eve, Saturday, 1 o'clock at Minnesota. This is a brutal year for NFL families, man. There's Thanksgiving games, which, it is what it is. There's Christmas and Christmas Eve's games this year, which is just unavoidable. It's the way the calendar falls. But that also means that there's a New Year's Day game, also unavoidable by the way the calendar falls. That sucks. These poor like wives and kids and shit don't get to see that. Hey, I mean, come on, man.
It's not. It's millions of dollars, and I have to.
Oh, come on. You don't get a single holiday that year with your family. When you're 3 or 4, you have no concept of money. You have concept of mom and dad. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just saying it sucks.
It's a home game. You're with them in the morning. You eat dinner after. That's okay.
Of course, you can make it work. I don't know, man. I grew up, my mom worked at an ER, so she either worked Thanksgiving or Christmas every year. So I know firsthand that it just kind of sucks, I still got everything I wanted for Christmas, but I didn't get to see my mom until 8 p.m., which sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal.
But also, I guess if you're in like that lifestyle and that kind of situation, that's what you know.
Yeah.
And the holiday is about being with the family. It's not about the holiday itself necessarily. So it's okay.
Yeah, I understand. It would be a nice early Christmas present to have some kind of pivotal conference victory in Minnesota heading into the new year against the final two division games. I won't hold my breath for that, but it's set up for that. It's up to the Giants to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be kind of cool. I'm happy that it's a Christmas Eve game and not Christmas Day. I know that,
Yeah.
I don't know, was it like a big Italian thing where people celebrate more on Eve than Day?
The Feast of Seven Fishes. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I never did that. So I guess that might suck for those people, whoever celebrates on Christmas Eve, but that is not I.
Hey, someone's going to be serving me 7 courses of seafood as I'm watching a Giant game. That sounds like heaven to me. So,
All right, and then leading into the last 2 weeks of the season, week 17 is New Year's Day at home against Indianapolis. Ugh, a 1 o'clock kickoff on New Year's Day. I can't think of a worst day to get up at 8 a.m. It might be better to just stay up the whole night and just complete the hangover at MetLife during the loss.
I haven't cross-referenced the schedules. So that means I'm assuming that the college football playoff will be on New Year's Eve this year. So they're not competing with the NFL.
I guess.
Yeah. So that kind of makes I'm not a fan at all of the New Year's Eve playoff games, but that lead into New Year's Day. So at the bowl games, I'm assuming would be on the second, I guess. So it's a nice weekend of football.
That's true. I did not think of it that way.
Yeah.
And then the last week of the year is either Saturday or Sunday at Philadelphia. The NFL really likes throwing Philly on us in the final weeks of the year. And they piled on 2 games in less than a month against Philly, and then Washington is was December 4th and then December 17th. So it's just like one game in between. They really just jammed everything at the end there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you always play your division in the last game of the year, and we never play Dallas at the end, so it makes.
I mean, the last time I think we played
Washington.
We played Dallas at the end. I think in 2011 might have been one of the last times.
Yeah.
Which is 11 years ago now. So that's it. I mean, that's kind of the schedule. We're not going to go through and do our wins and losses. This was just a quick episode because, honestly, the schedule leak is not really that important. And I will say that I think it's hilarious that every single year someone makes a fake Twitter account for NFL schedule leaks. They get thousands and thousands of followers, and everyone within 3 days, by the way. I mean, those Twitter accounts always come out the week of the schedule release. And it's so silly because you'll just get the schedule the Thursday. Why do you need the schedule leaks? You're not really sure.
Want to know.
Yeah, but you'll find out. It's so silly to me because you will find out for sure, and there's such a good chance that you're being duped. I don't know. I was not duped. That's all I'm going to say. I never follow those things. I don't care enough about the schedule to know 1 day ahead of time.
I did.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get duped, but I have my little my Twitter search for Giant schedule leak, and I'm looking because I want to know. I think
you do a lot more traveling than the average fan though, because you are switching from Saturday to Sunday on a dime there. So
I just want to know. I'm just it's in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean anything if you learn at 3 o'clock versus 8 o'clock, but I just like to know, and I like to kind of build out. I think sometimes it's fun, when some things leak out. It's like, okay, well, it can't be this day, and maybe it has to be this day, and this and this. So I don't spend 9 hours on my computer trying to figure it out, but I get into the fun of it. It's okay.
All right, everyone. This was just a short episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @football_grump, at the Cranky Fan, at Just Giants Pod, which of course can be found on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play, etc. I don't think we have an episode lined up for next week. We just did this one early. I'm still feeling incredibly terrible. I don't know if you can hear how bad I sound. I'm wearing my glasses, so that should tell you everything you need to know.
Oof.
But we do have some exciting stuff on the docket up ahead, so be sure to follow us on those platforms so you can get the word as soon as possible. All right, everyone. Go Giants.
Go Giants and go Bolts.